And we'll And
Karen, can you hear me?
yes, Sandy.
I hate this. Okay.
Who is this?
It was Sandy. I think
Sandy.
Yeah.
Hi,
Sandy and V. Look at this.
Nice. Sandy, remind us of your son's name.
V.
V-E-E?
V-I-L-L-E or initial V.
Okay. I'm adding his name.
You look amazing.
Oh, Rochelle, it's so good to see the top of your head.
Nobody else says it.
I try to stay off camera.
I know you do, so it's very good to see you. And hi, George.
Hey, how you doing?
George.
Hey, how everybody doing?
Good.
That's good. Be glad when I see you in person.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. I just want to hug everybody so much.
Me too.
Oh, we're so special.
Oh, it's great to see everyone. So we ready to hear from Randa and mute ourselves and sing? Let's see. You know, I can't mute everyone because I am not a host, so I need Randa or Jewel to make me a co-host. You just click on me and make me a co-host, and please one of you, yeah, good. Okay, good.
Okay. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I forgot to say that the words, you can find them in the chat. Find them in the chat. Yes, I woke up this morning with my eyes stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind just stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on justice. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Now say all their names with your mind stayed on justice. Say all their names with your mind just stayed on justice. Now say all their names with your mind stayed on justice. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind just stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind just stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone, to Tuesdays with Tillis, week number 180. We are a community of nonviolent resistance. We are committed to resisting the Trump administration, resisting systemic racism, systemic poverty, environmental devastation, militarism and the war economy. Does this sound familiar? This is directly from Reverend Barber. And the false moral narrative. Putting those together makes more sense to me every day. And, you know, we started out, as you recall, trying to get Tillis to vote against all these disastrous cabinet nominees 3.5 years ago. And we continue to, some of us, when we have the stomach, call and write Senator Tillis. But as it's become clear that he really doesn't care what we say, we're trying to vote him out. And we want to flip the Senate, and we want to get Trump out of the White House. And this is increasingly feeling like life and death for so many people, and so for us. And that's the urgency. And I just want to say one other thing about our collective intention, which is something that we've learned over these weeks together, is that even when we're sharing very bad news, and definitely when we're sharing good news, but even when we're looking together into the face of the monster that is unrestrained capitalism and white supremacy and all those horrible things, when we're together, we somehow manage to uplift each other and not feel overwhelmed. And so a powerful intention for these times together is to leave feeling better than when we started. We just kind of discovered together that we could do that. And I think it's because our very presence, by our very presence, we uplift each other. And it's a real miracle to me that that happens even when we're all little tiny squares. You know, so feeling better at the end than at the beginning is one big intention, but also a big intention is, you know, we're David, determined to meet Goliath. We're like the hobbits, determined to like get the ring, you know, all of these things. We are like the people trying to overthrow the powers that be. And so taking action, I think, not only feeds our soul, but helps us not to feel so overwhelmed. So a lot of what we do is kind of share actions we can take. So welcome everyone who's here for the first time. I think we have at least 3 people here for the first time. Welcome, welcome. Make yourself right at home. Just one other thing before we start is that if you don't get the tiny letter, please put your email in the chat and let us know that you want it. And I just posted the survey that we started a few weeks ago. I'm not going to put that in the tiny letter because it goes to 1,300 people. I'm only making it accessible to people who come to Tuesdays with Tillis. And it's not perfect. It's qualitative. It doesn't give me numbers, but I'm really interested in what people have to say about what you think we should focus on every week. And I'm learning a lot from it. 29 people have answered so far. And what I've learned is that overwhelmingly people want to focus on the November election. Okay, but turning from the November election for at least a while, we have a couple of really important things to talk about today. And one is the 2 things that are planned is we need to share the information about the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. And Lib is going to lead us in that. It's just so many people, some people here have done such tireless work on that. I specifically want to mention the grannies, but I know a lot of you who are sitting here have been out there. Some people from among us who aren't here chained themselves to trees. So I really want to hear from Lib. And then after that, I want to hear from Elena about the young revolutionaries who've been camped out in Raleigh and the upshot of that. So Lib, turn it over to you, fearless warrior.
Okay.
Oh wait, you're muted.
Still muted.
You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Hey, Lib, you're muted. Hey, Lib.
I'm sorry. I thought I had unmuted myself. I apologize.
No, that happens all the
I was
time.
just saying. Okay, so let's start over because you could probably read my lips. Let's say yes, yes.
Yes.
So just as we said we were we were singing for justice. We are celebrating not only the ACP being canceled, but DAPL has been stopped. And I'm like, whoa, you've got to be kidding me. This is way over my head. So it is a very, I will talk as fast as I can or read as fast as I can too, but I want you to notice behind me a couple of things that were gifts to me over the last few years. And this poster that says, listen to your great-great-grandchildren was the poster that I carried when we did the sit-in in Governor Cooper's office back in 2018. And this banner, water is life. I hope you can see it. I'm not real good at this computers. Here we go.
That's great. Yes.
And then there's one over here that Wilf and Raging Grannies went in together and did. It's a huge orange banner, and we used that at the flotilla down at the Neuse River back in 2018 when we were trying to stop the pipeline, and bless Pat if that pipeline didn't go right under the Neuse River. So I want us to take a deep breath, just stop, and if you have your water handy, I'd like to see it. You pick that up and look at that water. And please say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you feel so moved to say I love you, you can do that too, to your water, and then take a sip. This is one of the motivations for me personally since 2012 when we started our, because we were fighting fracking, right? And we had to learn all this the chemicals that were in the water that are toxic and all these things that were so horrible. And we didn't want to know all that, but we persisted and we learned it. So I want to thank you, all of you, for being part of this effort. And whatever you've done, I have no idea. But just some reminders of the history. In North Carolina, over 300 waterways, including 7 rivers, endangered species, birds, plants, trees, ecosystems, tiny and large, soil, food for all species, and our human friends have been spared further torment. Duke Energy and Dominion Energy have canceled ACP. We want to say it over and over and over and over again. Also today, we remember DAPL. And so we have our sharks that say water is life. And we know people who actually went out to Standing Rock and stood with the indigenous and watched them on video as they held their feather in nonviolent protest and got water. Anyway, yes, so that was terrible. Some of them actually, one person almost lost her arm. The police were brutal, and they seem to still want to do that. So I don't want to get off on that. What I want us to focus on is for those of us who are here for the first time on this Tuesday with Tillis, you may not realize that the Atlantic Coast Pipeline was proposed under the Obama administration in May of 2014 as a 600-mile natural gas fracked gas pipeline, 42-inch diameter pipeline And it was to begin in West Virginia, which it did, came through Virginia and then down into North Carolina, spreading through 8 counties in North Carolina, ending in Robeson County, home of the most numbers of indigenous persons east of the Mississippi. Though the original proposal suggested that frack gas would be exported to Japan and India, the mention of going into South Carolina was not included in the initial application, and nor was exporting. It's interesting to note that it was originally a joint venture between Duke Energy, Dominion, Piedmont Natural Gas, and Southern Company Gas. The ACP LLC was deceptive, withheld the fact that they intended to go to South Carolina too, and might have connected to a liquid natural gas facility in Charleston, South Carolina, or Savannah, Georgia. So today we don't know whether the LNG facility that is proposed in Robinson County, and actually they've started trying to build it, will go forward. We don't know. I talked to Donna Chavis, and she said she couldn't talk about it because it's in litigation at the moment. So to outline the history of opposition to the ACP, the fight for clean water and clean air across the whole country, protests are for something. Remember that. So demonstrators are often pictured as violent, as we have worked our butts off to be nonviolent. And Elena is a perfect example of that at the moment. So at the time that we were fighting fracking, we were dealing with Duke's coal ash, and then the ACP crowded in, and NC Warren, which is a wonderful organization, formed a coalition to campaign to stop Duke monopoly energy in North Carolina. So all this was going on in the last 5 years. So several on this call were involved in anti-fracking efforts even back in 2012, and we learned, as you know, the effects of methane on climate and learning about the toxic chemicals on the fracking fluids. The leaks, the explosions, the cries for clean air and clean water have motivated thousands of us through the years to step up, speak out, and walk for justice. By September 2016, the ACP construction contract was signed, and strong protests had already begun in Virginia and North Carolina. Tree sets, did you know that? There were several tree sets in Virginia, and at least one homeowner who was right on the Blue Ridge Parkway sat in her tree with her daughter. I mean, her daughter was in another tree, but anyway, they did the tree sit together. And so there were support groups like that. And as far as I know, there's still, as of last week, I think there was still one tree sit going on that had been going on for 1.5 years in Virginia near Roanoke. Okay, so homeowners were arrested on their own property in Virginia. Organizations sprung up in counties along the proposed route, and existing international, national, and statewide organizations formed alliances. So we have what you know as Frack Free North Carolina is an alliance of over 30 different organizations. Apple is Alliance for People and Places Where We Live. Appalachian Voices it covers Virginia and North Carolina. So there have been many ways that Women's International League for Peace and Freedom has stepped up and participated as well in many of these efforts. So we held strategy meetings, obviously, made public comment when it was possible, just like you. You've done the same thing. You were there. You wrote letters. You supported the impacted landowners. and you marched along the route of the ACP. If you could, and if you couldn't, you were supportive. Then you made many trips to the North Carolina General Assembly. You made phone calls and to the DEQ and to the Governor Cooper's office, where we were actually barred as my friend, the Beardens, Joe and Karen both were there at the door of the Cooper's office when they wouldn't let us in. But we managed to ask politely, nevertheless, and we gave them our words. And just as the Tillis, we've done this with Tuesday with Tillis. So we've held actions, and Raging Grannies have sung all, many different rallies and partnered with Wolf. So while some landowners were persuaded to take the money, other landowners took ACP to court to stop them from taking their land by eminent domain. So I'm going to continue here for just a few more minutes. I don't think it'll be much longer.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. This is wonderful.
So in September of 2017, Greg Yost, who lives in Mars Hill, North Carolina, decided to do a fast because he was so moved by the need to stop the pipeline and to have clean air and water. So he spent a week fasting in front of the DEQ, and Maple O, who I hope is on this call today, was a support to him, as well as Jane and others who could walk and be with him. Then Apple organized the walk along the ACP route. As I said before, at that point, the 401 water permit, are y'all familiar with that idea? The 401 water permit was being prepared, and we insisted that the permit be denied. So the ACP had not done an adequate environmental impact statement. Yes, okay, well, what else is new? So we expected the DEQ to deny it. So a group of us went down on the day we heard there was going to be the announcement, and we were actually in the DEQ lobby the day that the announcement was made, in the afternoon that the permit was accepted. So we were not happy. Okay. So today you sit before a screen, or you're listening on your phone. You may be thinking about the story of the indigenous grandfather whose grandson asked him, well, which wolf wins, And the grandfather said, the one you feed. So, yes. So we kept our protesting, and you may be, understanding that, and you may actually dare to ask, well, how can you speak of nonviolence when the violent nature of pipeline construction has taken organic farmland, disrupted the soil, cut trees, cut acres and acres of trees, made us cry, eroded mountainsides, sent workmen to trespass on land that is not theirs, sent so many men that work sites are called man camps, created villages with money but no stability, and contaminated air and water necessary for healthy living. Though you and I may know some very kind people who work for Dominion or Duke, we know that their business model of domination, destruction, disrespect for the rights of others is historic. So, now that we realize that even as recent as last Tuesday, some of us were standing in front of the DEQ, live streaming a rally while a webinar was going forward during the meeting time of the North Carolina Environmental Justice and Equity Advisory Board meeting. The recommendations written in a letter to Secretary Regan is the DEQ secretary, have still not been made public. So we held this banner, that is the Raging Grady's held this banner. You can go on, there are many other banners that paper hand puppets painted an incredibly huge, long banner. And they have been very active in all this one. It's just amazing. So we're thinking, well, what can we do next? Belinda Joyner wants us to, is up in Northampton County. I talked to her and we were all dancing in the floor too. And she said, In Viva, we got to get rid of In Viva. Well, what is that? Do y'all know what In Viva is? Okay, that's the wood pellets. So Northampton, as well as Robinson, have been attacked with the companies called In Viva that makes wood pellets. And it's like tearing down 4 times as much rainforest. Tearing down southeastern forest at the rate 4 times of what the Amazon is being cut. So that's pitched to do something about that. So I also have some suggestions. One is to call Secretary Regan and ask him if and when he is going to make public the letter from the Environmental Justice and Equity Board. Also, let's pay attention to the money. We know that Dominion Energy sold out, and we need to know what happens to the easements of the landowners, of all those folks along the pipeline, and because some of them have already received money from ACP for their land, and some, like Marvin Winstead, said no, thank you very much, and he refused it to start with and sent them to court. So he's expecting it, to get all that back, but we don't know where that's going. We also haven't heard that they're going to take that pipe out from under the river. They claim that, well, we don't have to do that. That would be destructive that quote unquote disturb the land. Okay. Excuse me very much, but anyway, we'll get me started on disturbing the land. All right. So, also, I suggest that we notice what is meant by quote unquote renewable natural gas. Because now Dominion has gone in investing with the Chinese down east to quote unquote have renewable natural gas, which is a lie in itself, just the language. Okay, so we need to focus some time on learning what you think we need to do to stop that effort of calling it renewable natural gas. And I suggest that we take time for ourselves, really, to take another deep breath and thank your water and your community. I thank all of you for your amazing support. You're like family. And managed to get through this whole thing and not start crying in front of you. It has just been an amazingly emotional experience that we celebrate together. What can we say? There's more to do, and my words are not adequate, but it's a start, and it's been a true gift to have participated with you and this effort. We did it. It stopped. It stopped. So be. Thank you, Karen. Should I ask for questions or not?
You should ask for acclaim and admiration. I hope you're feeling all the love and gratitude that is coming to you. And you said it all perfectly.
Oh, thank you. I don't do anything perfectly. Water is life. It's for my grandchildren. I told my grandchildren I will do everything that I know how to do until I die to protect their water and air. So this is all of our species. It's not just, I mean, shoot, humans have gotten this thing so messed up. Excuse me. Okay. Next question.
Yeah, I just want to invite us all to just take all that in. That was so powerful on every level.
So, Liv, what does that letter say that you think should be publicized? I missed that.
What does the letter say?
Yeah.
That's what we don't know. We know that it is a recommendation that was written because we were invited to be on the Zoom meetings when the subcommittee created, just when they discussed what would go into the recommendations. But we were never privy to the letter itself that was written with the recommendations to Secretary Regan.
So just moving forward, if someone who knows a lot about this could either write in the chat or send an email to Jewel sometime in the next few hours so that we can all take whatever action that Lib is suggesting. I just also want to recognize Karen Bearden, who's another fearless warrior, and I think it's her birthday today.
Yay!
And I just want us all to send birthday love and gratitude for all that you do all the time too. Thank you and happy birthday.
Yay.
Thank you.
As I told Liv, I saw Lisa Sorg's tweet about this, and she goes, this looks legitimate. And I went, Joe, let's see if you find any link. And so he found the Duke Energy, and that's what I ended up posting on the Tuesdays with Tillis link was Lisa Sorg's article. But I was so busy writing to everybody, emailing, texting, tweets and stuff like that. And all of a sudden I got up and started screaming and hugging Joe and just yelling around the house. Yay! Because I'm so wanted to be with Liv, of course. Oh my God, and John and just everybody. We're very, very happy. We're very happy. And right now we're going to be all the activists that have been working on this for years together are going to be having a celebration, a Zoom call celebration. So yay. And I pulled out, as Liv was talking about it, here's the t-shirt for the walk along the proposed. Yay. And Joe's going to put it up there, but Donna Chavis, who we spoke back in December together, she was on Democracy Now! This morning, you all. Yay, 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 yay. So we'll put that link in the chat.
Terrific. And I know Jade and a lot of Raging Grannies and many others of you have worked so hard for this victory, and let's just really savor it and feel it in our bodies, how great this is. Now, I think that maybe the Environmental Committee was set to do, and I'm sorry, I forgot, another announcement for today or an action. Am I wrong about that, or was it Lib's announcement?
Karen, it's a small one. It's Sandy Ritchie.
Okay.
And I want to alert the group to something. We all know about the HEROES Act, which has been stalled in Congress for about 45 days, which provides more stimulus funding to help regular people and the hospitals, etc. It's been stalled 45 days. Well, the Democrats are like a blue wave, and the waves are getting bigger. It's that water you were talking about, Karen, and they're wrestling with a national platform of a bill based on a bill that builds sustainable infrastructure focused on renewables and boosting employment. And it's called the Moving Forward Act, and is being introduced by Congressman Joaquin Jeffries. So it's going to be $1.5 trillion, and it's to be reimagining transportation across the nation, even to the point where they're going to study implementing a Hyperloop if everything goes well. Not only that, right now the bill is in the Transportation Committee, and it also, in a way, sounds a little duplicative of the HEROES Act, but they're determined to get something. It's going to provide funding for healthcare resources, operational funds for municipalities suffering financially from COVID-19, and restore U.S. physical infrastructure. So this will help them, they believe, stimulate job growth for Americans across the country. The interesting thing is the projects will be prioritized for reducing road congestion and implementing safety for pedestrians as well as cyclists. There's also emission requirements, which is very good. And even if the climate change naysayers are down on that, the requirement also includes using only U.S. steel and other materials. So that might help bring it along. Anyway, very exciting. We'll see what happens. It's called the Move Forward Act. If you want to send a note to your congressman and tell him you've heard about it, it sounds great, encourage them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for people who keep working so hard on the environment and on climate change. Karen and Keith, David, and Sandy, and a whole lot of other people. Thank you so much.
Karen,
yes.
This is David. I just posted something in the chat about what Sandy just spoke about.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much. Great. So I also asked Elena to come because she's been out on the street every night. You know, the Black Lives Movement for Black Lives, it's the largest movement in human history. Or definitely in this country, maybe it is, but that's good enough for me. And the 35th day of protests continuously in Raleigh was a few days ago. And Elena's been down there all week with these young people. And so I asked her to give us a report on another victory.
Yeah, and just to, I don't know, circle back, Liv Hutchby is very, very, very special because she's so modest. This has been her life's work. She's been consumed, and she's the real deal. She's the real deal. So is John Wagner, her partner in crime. John Wagner Tony and I trained many people on this call for nonviolent moral resistance through the Poor People's Campaign 2 years ago. And we went out to Northampton County, and I know I'm supposed to be talking about NC Bourne, but the environment, our Mother Earth. Anyway, Northampton County, and we met Belinda Joyner and Tony Burnett and Marvin Winstead and some amazing people that were obsessed and took us to where the tree line, I can't explain to you how many trees were just mowed. Beautiful, massive trees just mowed down for this ACP. And when they put, you talk about putting this damn thing under the river. They don't want to disturb it. Oh, you didn't mind putting it there to begin with. So, but John Wagner had a visual at, I think all 40 days of action every week. He would bring like a hula hoop and he would show, this is how wide this pipeline is going to be. Like, you say 42 inches. Well, no, it was a damn hula hoop. And it was so stunning and I mean, he had visuals. So Lucy, Lib, make sure he gets a round of applause from this group, please, on our behalf.
Thank you so much. He is actually with a new grandchild down in East in Little Washington, or he would be with us probably today, because he's on we're the water committee, so to speak. Anyway, later, yes, John has been and is a powerful voice, and he's there. He shows up. He went out to stand with them at Dapple out in Standing Rock. So he's out there and doing it every day that he can. Thank you.
Thank you, Liv. So that's a beautiful thing, and it gives us all hope. But these babies downtown, they have thrown out the rule book. They have thrown out what we know as protest. They have invigorated protest, nonviolent protest. But let me tell you, these kids don't get permits. They just go. They just go. I'd like to just read a quote from one of the organizers. The three main organizers is this adorable queer boy who's been working so much on human trafficking in New Bern. His name is Brandon Welsh. And then there's Tari Coleman, who is an instructor at a university. I'm not going to say which one because I don't. And then this young lady who is going to Duke, and she is quoted, and this is minutes after the veto was recognized. Quote, her name is Lauren, Lauren Howell. She is 21 years old. We definitely are celebrating our endurance, our resilience, our strength, Howell told the NNO. But we know the fight still continues. We're still pushing, but definitely it's important to celebrate the small victories. And when I tell you, I came running like a lunatic because I brought them food. And then I was like, well, you're not marching, I'm going home. They were having a debrief because they're all very respectful of each other's feelings. And if somebody feels that they're not being heard, they'll call each other out on it. But there's no ego. It's in a circle. There's no squares. There's no hard corners. These kids are amazing. And so they were having a debrief. And my privilege don't need to be, this my white old ass privilege doesn't need to be in that circle. So I went home. So I'm doing research from here. And Clinton's down there with the circle. People did march. And I'm doing research, and all of a sudden, like it comes up. And I was like, Clinton, it's been vetoed. He said, you better be right. I said, Clinton, it's been vetoed. I just put it in the chat. And he was like, don't send it to the babies yet. Send me a picture of it, because we didn't want to get them excited. Clinton and I got on the phone at 7:17. It was vetoed at 7:16. It was recorded. I was like, Tony, come over here. Just see if I'm seeing this right. And then, he was like, it's been vetoed. And you hear the kids just go nuts. We printed it. And the march started. We went down to the encampment. They had been sleeping there for 1 week. 1 week. They were not giving up. And then they'd march throughout the city. During the day, at night, on 4th of July, it was the most beautiful 4th of July I've ever had in my life. Took Glenwood South at every restaurant, and there were 1 million restaurants and bars open. They stopped at every one, all of us, but the babies said, this is what SB 186 is. These are the 4 people that have been murdered in Raleigh. 2 of them were mentally challenged. At every restaurant, that damn march took, I complained that they ran. No, this march took 3 hours, but because they were educating, and they are not stopping. Lauren last night, right after the veto happened, say their names: Akiel Dinkins, Keith Collins. They're just amazing, and they give me hope. And they are now focused on having those 4 cases reopened. You know, Keith Collins was a mentally challenged man. The police officer, this was before, you know, there was 8,000 of these things. Cop emptied his gun, reloaded at guys on the ground, and kept shooting. So, you know, I have to tell you, he waited to the very last dang minute, but Cooper came through. He came through and he vetoed it, and I put it in there. And his rationale is Senate Bill 168 includes a provision to change the handling of public records by the Office of Medical Examiner, which could have unintended consequences of limiting transparency in death investigations. While I believe neither the DHHS, which proposed it, nor the General Assembly, which they did not unanimously pass it, but I'll come back to that, passed it, had any real intent. The concerns that have since been raised made it clear this provision should not become law. And they were raised by the public. So what I'm here to tell you is protest matters, voices matters. We may think we're spitting into the wind. We absolutely are not. These babies have taught me it matters. We can't give up. November is weeks away, and we will win.
Thank you so much, Elena. That was a lot of quinoa and fruit that you took these kids. And Galia's daughter was with the protests, right? And she spent the night there. And these kids, I just want to go back just a second and say, these people were camped out, these young people, for days. And the issue at hand was the effing North Carolina General Assembly Jim Crow caucus had slipped something into a large bill in the middle of the night. So this win is not just to not allow this little thing that would have moved us backward in terms of police killing people and transparency, but it really is standing up to the General Assembly and saying, no, you can't slip things in the middle of the night that are bad. You can't do that. And we've been trying to get them to stop doing that for so many years. But I think that maybe this might teach them a lesson.
Yes, Karen, may I? So the bill started out as a 5-page bill, then it went to a 10-page bill, and at around, I think, 2 o'clock in the morning, it went to a 17-page bill. And the Democrats were like, what is this? And the Republicans said, it's just procedural for DHHS. You know, it's procedural. Allison Dahl said, no, I ain't signing it. Nope, I ain't signing. Just on, and she didn't read. She admitted to us she didn't read it, but she was like, "Oh, hell to the no! It can't go from 10 pages to 17 pages." And they put it right in the middle, by the way. It wasn't like they said to them at the end. They put it in the middle. They also put some wording in there about masks, and the subsequent to this to 168 is 232, and they put a lot of sugarcoating about masks in there as well. And they're like, see, look how great we're doing. But Allison Dahl was like, no, I vote no. She was the only no vote.
Yep.
17 pages, I think 2 in the morning. And she was like, no, that ain't right. No. So yes, Karen, that was a super amazing victory that the General Assembly got. Nope, you're not going to do this to us anymore. I'm out. Thanks.
Yeah, and it really points up how important the down ballot, not just the senator and the president, but also the representatives are, and also other down ballot people. So I just want to say that a little heads up, on Monday, we've been having food, a little group of people talking about what's happening with food, trying to support the people that are feeding people in North Carolina during this time. And we're inviting to come this next Monday a candidate for the Secretary of Agriculture or something like that. And I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me what her title is, but it's something that doesn't usually get a lot of attention, but it's a powerful position. And so it'll be in the tiny letter, but it's going to be Monday at noon, and everyone's invited to hear her because we're inviting her to talk about the need of people in North Carolina for food during this economic crisis and virus crisis. And I think you all might want to hear from her. I think she's a gay woman, which is even cooler, but she seems like she's really on top of things, and we want her in. So that's something. And then something else while I'm on the elections too, is that we've been, some of us working really hard on migrant and immigrant issues. And I think many of you watched Rachel last night, and she interviewed the guy who's written a book about family separation and about what's been happening with that. And we need to stay awake to what's still happening. Genocidal policies at the southern border, and use it in the election. Really, as we educate voters, say we need to stop these policies, and getting Trump out of office and flipping the Senate is the way to do that. Okay, that was my little spiel. What else am I forgetting?
This is Joe. The White House appears to be going that they want Americans to forget about the coronavirus and we just have to live with it. And I think we need to remind them that, we're 130,000 deaths and counting.
Thank you. Yes. And it's very interesting that Tillis has jumped on the bandwagon of everyone should wear a mask. And I know it's because he's terrified that he's going to lose the election. But if you have the stomach to keep calling his office and keep writing to him, if he had managed to vote for the impeachment of Donald Trump, we would not be in this situation. And he needs to not wait until Memorial Day is it Memorial Day? No, what's the date? I think it's in September that people are saying that these Republican senators are going to cut and run. But he needs to cut and run a lot sooner than that and begin to stand up to Donald Trump, because we haven't even talked about Russia and the bounty on our troops. Yes, Sandy.
Sandy, you're muted.
Thank you. Cal Cunningham, Trump has an TV advertisement on Cal Cunningham about what a progressive he is. So that was kind of fun. And then the second thing I wanted to say is in the Washington Post this morning, I was talking about who got stimulus money, which included Elaine Chao's Chinese conglomerate family. And then a couple Congress people's families got stimulus money. And no waiver was there was a waiver that they didn't have to do proper reporting. So big ethics problem. So
Yeah.
You know that already, but we should probably write about this to the Congress people and complain.
Good. And Herb points out it's Labor Day that we keep hearing on Labor Day. That's when all these Republican senators in swing states are going to finally begin to tell the truth. But it's so frustrating. We have a little time left before we do the closing song. What else do we need to say today? Oh, neighbors on call, Anne, thank you. Once again, it's really important that everybody do something, of course, all that we can. And Neighbors on Call is a great organization. They're laser focused and the phone banks are very useful. Check it out. Great. That's great. Neighbors on Call is a wonderful organization. Vote Forward is another one where you can write letters at home and you can vote, of course.
Karen?
Yes.
It's Susan Jones. I don't know if anyone was able to watch, maybe you talked about it, I was a few minutes late. Unfit, hashtag Unfit by the group Duty to Warn. It was available on Twitter for 3 days this weekend, and it's going to be released in September. I watched it. It was absolutely terrifying because it goes from Trump's mental health from the beginning till now. There are psychologists and psychiatrists that describe the danger that he's in. And I wrote to him and I said, I don't know why you're waiting to release this till September. I think everyone should see it now. Did anybody else see it? It was stunning. I mean, it's not surprising, but it is really, it lays out the fear that we all should have of him with the nuclear codes more than anything.
Okay.
Quickly, another thing that we all need to know about is the Breathe Act, which just got released this morning by Movement for Black Lives. I was watching it before I came on Tuesdays with Tillis, but I think if people go to the Movement for Black Lives website, it will talk about this new piece of legislation which has just been introduced to deal with defunding police, investing in communities, reparations issues, and so forth. So we should all check that out and write to Congress and let them know we want them to support it.
Lucy, it's called the Breathe Act.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you so much for saying that. So any way we can support the Movement for Black Lives, it sounds like they're making it easy for us. I think the more we can talk to people about defund the police and what that actually means, there's a lot of misunderstanding, and we can help educate people about that. And there's a little link in the tiny letter this week about writing to your local folks to defund the police.
Could I make a comment? When I think, Elena, it was you or someone was talking about 2 young people who had been shot. Is that correct? 4, right. But there were 2 young people who had disabilities. And I think it's very important that we use that language as opposed to special ed language. That those young people have protections under the Americans with Disabilities Act, but it's important to use that language in describing their life experience rather than euphemisms that they could be mentally retarded, they could be on the spectrum, but all of people with those kinds of conditions are covered on the Americans with Disabilities Act. And it also, if one of the problems when we talk about mental illness is that it infers that people are sick rather than people having psychiatric disabilities and civil rights.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy when we perceive people under the control of doctors as not being people who are responsible people or covered under a, say, due to severe depression, that these are people who have psychiatric disabilities.
Thank you.
Are not mentally ill. They have psychiatric disabilities, and therefore it is required that they, number one, they own it. There was a woman named Judy Chamberlain.
Joy, we're coming to the end. Okay, but I really, really appreciate your presence, and I really, really appreciate what you just said. Joy Weaver is another warrior for justice, incredible advocate for people with disabilities. I love seeing you here. I love that you spoke. I love what you said. Thank you. I'm so moved to look at the beautiful, strong, powerful, smart people that I'm looking at. And I really thank you with all my heart. You uplift me every single time, and every single person who spoke, I really thank you. And I'm really sorry if I cut you off, but it's, but my job is boundaries. So we're going to do the closing song, and then Scarlett is going to call us out and chant us out. Thank you so much. And you can keep putting things in the chat. Jewel will send it out. Thank you, Jewel. So Randa, yes.
Hi, everyone. If you don't like who's in there, vote them out. That's what election day is all about. That superpower we've got is called the ballot box. And if you don't like who's in there, vote them out. Everybody, vote them out, vote them out, vote them out. Yeah, yeah. And when they're gone, we'll sing, dance, and shout. We'll bring some great ones in, and they'll find us hope again. If you don't like who's in there, vote them out. 2020 never mattered quite like this. Serves the rich. We gotta end the graft and lies and get the White House sanitized. That nasty virus must be voted out. Vote them out, yeah, vote them out. When they're gone, sing and dance and shout. We'll bring in, if we don't like out, well, we're in the streets and we're holding strong. Putin and Trump been boyfriends far too long. Let's end deceit and fraud, yeah, restore the law. Lift up our cries of truth. Vote them out! Vote them out, yeah, vote them out. And when they're gone, twist and shout. We'll bring some great ones in, yeah, we'll find us hope again. We don't like who's in there, vote them out. 'Cause we don't like who's in there, vote them out. May our elections be free and fair. And on.
Everyone, just take a deep breath. Deep breath. You know, dear friends, dear family, oh, so many weeks, 180. And yes, we're a bit tired, but we continue. You know, there were 61 of us today on Zoom, 61. You know, the great thing about getting older is we don't forget the ages that we've been. And through Tuesdays with Tillis, I am so much wiser because all of you have shared your wisdom, your knowledge. And now we have those young people, those babies, as Elena said, who are sharing their strength, their energy. And that gives me hope. That gives me hope. You know, I think we've moved beyond Stone Mountain, Georgia, and segregation. And we remember Seneca Falls, Standing Rock, Stonewall. And I hope we're moving beyond the Confederacy and moving toward compassion. And we're moving beyond Jim Crow to justice. One of my favorite book of scripture are the Winnie the Pooh stories. Sometimes I'm Eeyore, Oh, woe is me, woe is me. And sometimes I'm Piglet, little insecure Piglet. But then we have that silly old bear, Winnie the Pooh. So I want to leave you with a quote from my scripture. We'll be friends forever, won't we, Pooh? Asked Piglet. And Pooh said, even longer. So my friends, you are my friends now and forever. Forward together, not one step back. Forward together, not
one step back.
Forward together,
Not one step back.
Oh, that's perfect.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen.
Scarlett and Elena and Liv, everybody, enjoy, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Like a great movie. I laughed. I cried. I felt happy. Victory. I felt underdog. Great film.
Yeah, it takes a lot to make me cry, I'll say.